so much, Jen. Great worship. Thank you, guys. You sang Shirley's favorite song this morning again, that new song. She loves that. So she was kind of going a little crazy up here. I was watching her from the back, but she's okay now. She settled down. Good to see all you guys this morning. We're going to have fun, again, going through the book of Ephesians. We're actually going to move from chapter 5 all the way to chapter 6. Finally, the last chapter in this book. We've been studying it for 15 months. This Sunday, today, begins the 16th month that we've been studying this book together. That's pretty funny, isn't it? Like over a year on one book. Not a really big book, but really an important one. And thank you for those. How many of you were here the first Sunday? Was there anybody here on the first? Yeah, there was one of you. But no, there was more than one. And Shirley, you were here. Did you raise your hand? No? You were here though, right? Weren't you? How about you, Dr. Stephanie? Were you here? We couldn't get you guys across the bay. We hadn't met you yet, you know? We're glad that we did. It's awesome. Awesome that you're here. Thanks for going to our activity last Wednesday. You and Hannah, your little Hannah, she always makes a big hit wherever she goes. And you guys came to the activity and hung out with all the college students in Philly. You look like a college student anyway. Yeah. Now Hannah didn't. She was just maybe a short college student. But she thought she was a college student. I think she was a little afraid at first, wasn't she? She kind of ran out of the room. There was like 400 people in there. But it was really great. And so we had fun getting around, meeting. And we got Pakon, who came this morning from that activity. That was really great. We're so glad. Yes. They're clapping for you again, Pakon. You're just the man. You're the man from Thailand. Man from Thailand. Okay? I like that. Is that Thailand? Is that where you're from? Great. Thai food. Come on, everybody. Huh? That's all I have to say, right? It's just like the best food next to other foods, of course. We have a wide variety of cultures here, so we have to be careful about that. Shirley is prone to give a lot of props to food from Indiana. Okay, so and moonshine. I think they have moonshine in Indiana too. I'm not sure about that. I always joke with her about that. Okay, so we're talking about the Spirit-filled life in chapter 5, and the first characteristic is worship. You know, we started a church in 1986 in a place where nobody was really working. There was actually some people there that were trying to get something going, so we got together with them, and we actually got a church started in a place called Cuenca. Cuenca, of course, as we were talking about the other day with Han and Stephanie, it means bowl. It's like where two rivers come together. I guess you can eat out of a cuenco también. Did we say that? Yeah. So that's where we started the first church. And then 2 years later, we went to another church. That's where the guys that were HIV positive went and helped us move. Remember, I was washing dishes, and then they all said that they are all HIV positive. Remember, they were Christians. They got saved because of the drug culture. And Raymar, it was a Christian group in Madrid that reached out to them. And as soon as I heard that they were all HIV positive, I had washed all these dishes. I mean, for like 10 people. And I washed all these dishes, maybe 11, counting Aaron and my son. And as soon as they said, well, we're all HIV positive. And I heard that. I heard him talking to Steve, my missionary buddy, and I just took all the dishes that I just washed and I put them right back in the sink again and turned on the water and turned the bottle of soap upside down. And it was just pretty scary, especially back in the 80s where nobody actually knew what was going on. But we went there, and everybody said that a church could not be, don't go there, you gringos, don't go there. You know, you can't start a church there. You don't even speak Spanish very well. And we'll just leave it to us, leave it to the Spaniards. Well, the guy that said that now is in heaven. And he was the guy from Catalonia and the northern part of Spain. And he was in charge of all the churches, kind of like the evangelical leader of all the churches in Spain. And he was telling us this in Madrid. And so we went anyway. We didn't listen to him. We went anyway. We went in 1988. And it was really tough. I mean, demonic. I mean, I would talk with people, and it's not that I just couldn't hardly talk Spanish. I couldn't talk English or any language. I mean, the Satan was so strong in me trying to sit down and talk with somebody that, like, my son had already made friends with and then brought him over to the house, and Satan was so strong, we couldn't hardly talk. The words just wouldn't get out. But we just kept going and going, and finally, the church got started, and we went back in 2012, and we met people on the street that said, we remember you, we remember your group. And this was like 30 years before that we had been there, like 25 years before, not 30, but 25 years before. So they'd still remembered, and some of them have gotten saved, some of them had not gotten saved. But anyway, I'm still like emailing with the people, some of the people, back there. That's in the place called Teruel, and it's in Spain. And I'm going to talk to you about the worship part and how important that is. And what they do is one of their evangelistic strategies is they have concerts. They have Christian concerts in the city. Now, this is a city of about 32,000 people, 28 to 32,000 people. It was almost completely destroyed by the Spanish Civil War right before World War II, like in 38, 39, something like that. Some of the people are so short because all they were able to eat were pipas. That's all they had to eat. Anybody know what a pipa is? Okay, it's Spanish slang for sunflower seeds. That's all they had. So when my son was like, and he was short anyway until he got to be like in college, and he was a college basketball player, and then he started growing, and he eventually made it up to 6 foot. But he was really short, and he would walk up to the little ladies, and they were all dressed in black because they all lost their husbands during the Civil War and everything. And so he would walk up behind them and always go like this for the little ladies. In other words, he's short, but he's as tall as them. And he was always, he was a crazy kid. And so he was only 9, And so, and not, maybe 10. And real short. And so anyway, they said, nobody can be reached in the city. Nobody can be reached in this. So we did, eventually a church was started. And people, but now she told me that the last activity that they had a music concert where several of the churches now, there's several churches in the city, and they got together and they did a music concert in the like the town square or something. And she said 250 people in this town of only like 30,000 people accepted Christ. Just that one event. So you can see how powerful, what a great tool. That's why God puts it first. He's not saying that, hey, somebody that is spirit-filled, oh, well, they're going to go out and perform miracles. You're going to see them raising people. If they're spirit-filled, number one, they raise people from the dead. Number two, they like something else that's miraculous, something crazy. And but no, that's not what he talks about. He talks about simple things like they're worshipful. We see the importance of music and worship and getting the theology. There's great theology in those songs. One talked about Satan being a liar, about Satan's head being crushed. That's right out of the third chapter of the book of Genesis, right? Really, really good theology in our music this morning. Being thankful, and especially being thankful to God. I was listening to Moody this past week, and a Bible teacher was teaching on Moody Radio as I was coming to work, and he said, the reason why we're not thankful, first we should be thankful to each other. No, not first, but we should be thankful to each other, but we most importantly should be thankful to God, and that's what the verse says, being thankful to the Father through Jesus, And then he says, but we should be thankful, and he says the reason why we're not is pride. So if people don't say thank you, and you say, well, it's our culture not to really thank. Well, that's because that's a defect in the culture, right? I mean, if there's I'm half German and half whatever else I am, Scottish, and if the Germans don't say thank you, that's a defect in my culture, and Christianity changes the culture. We want to make a culture of thankfulness. We want to establish a culture of evangelism. We want to establish a culture of being serious about the Word of God and being people that have a hermeneutic, and we have a science of Bible interpretation. This is all important. A culture of being kind and loving towards others and being servants to other people. We want to establish these cultures. We want to change our culture that we all grew up with or that is natural for us, and we want to change it into a Christian culture. Everybody got that? Does that make sense? Doesn't that make sense? It's so, this is not rocket. Some of you are probably rocket scientists. Anyone rocket scientists? Because I met one the other day. I forgot where it was. It was on campus. And they walked up to me or somewhere, and they said, yeah, I'm studying. One of you girls? No, you guys aren't studying rocket science, are you? No, honestly, I met 3 girls. Where were they? Three guys or 3 girls. And they said, one's going to go to NASA, I don't know, and start studying there. And then, I don't know where this was. And the other one was starting, where was that? Oh, it was Kubos. It was those 3 girls in Kubos, wasn't it? That's right. And the middle one, what was she studying? Like something about, right? Space, the one. And then the middle one, something about a higher level of chemistry, or she's going to make human beings or something, I don't know. And then the other one was going to be doing business. But I mean, really, we meet people like that. That was 3 students in Kubos, right? That's pretty awesome. And then the third one is submissiveness. Now he starts giving us all kinds of like categories. So first of all, before he talks about what husbands and wives being submissive, that's right, husbands being submissive too. Oh yeah, that's what he says here. Before he talks about husbands being submissive, he talks about we're to be submissive to one another. And he uses the same terms for one another and for wives. And he uses the word hupo, which means under, and tasso, which means to arrange, and it's a military concept. And it's so find out what your role and responsibility is. Find out where that military, so to speak, movement is going, and get under it and submit to it. Get under a range. Just comply. That's the idea. Be compliant to the role and the responsibility that God has for you, both to one another in the church. So we, appreciate each other's ideas. It doesn't matter. You can come up to me anytime you want, and you can say, Dave, I got a way better idea of doing things than you're doing it right now. And I'm going to say, I want to hear it. Doesn't mean I'm going to accept it. Doesn't mean that you're right. Doesn't mean we're going to do it. But I'm going to sure hear you, as long as you don't take too long. And no, I'm just kidding, because you can take as long as you want. Come on, you guys are dead this morning. Come on, I thought that was pretty funny, really. Okay, so one another. We're submitting to one another. Then he says, wives, submit to your husbands, but only as things under the Lord. Uses the same word. Find out what your role and responsibility is. Get under that and just move along with that mission to defeat Satan and to accomplish success for the kingdom of God in your family. That's the idea. Then we talked about he uses a different word for husbands being submissive. Oh yeah, so he says, husbands, love your wives. He uses twice in chapter 5. He uses it at the beginning when he says that Christ loved us and gave himself up for us. So he defines it there. Christ loved all of us as Christians and gave himself up for all of us. And then he says, husbands, love your wives. And then he defines it again. As Christ loved us and gave himself for it. He didn't use the word hupotasso. He didn't talk about being submissive for us. He used a deeper, a more powerful, a stronger term for submissiveness. And that's the word agapao. We talk about agape love. We talk about agape love in the Christian church. This is the word right here. This is the verb. I like to put it in a verb form because it's supposed to be verb. It's supposed to be action. We're supposed to be activating this. This is activity. This is action, right? It's not like we talk about love and then we just kind of sit there and do nothing. We talk about love and we do something. We help. We sacrifice. We go to another country. We feed the poor. We evangelize. We assist. We help somebody change a tire. We buy shoes for some kid. We do something. We're always doing things. Our love is an activity. It's a sacrificial activity because that's what Jesus did to us. As he demonstrated this, it was sacrificial, okay? And then as he talks about this from verses 25 through 33, he calls it a mystery. I didn't talk about that last week except to say that he said this mystery is profound in the ESV or great in the New King James. And we talked about this is one of the mysteries of Christ and the church. The relationship with Christ and the church is illustrated through a man and a woman in marriage, okay? He says it's a mystery. And you know what? I understand because marriage is a mystery. I get it. He says marriage is a mystery. But he's really talking about this illustration of marriage for Christ and the church, but marriage is a mystery. And then we use the word mysterion, and he says it's a mystery about one day God's going to take all the Christians off the planet, and just boom, he calls that the harpazo, just take them out. That's a mystery. He talks about in 1 Corinthians chapter 15, behold, I'll show you a mystery. We shall not all sleep or die, but we shall all be changed. He talks about the mystery of the incarnation in 1 Timothy 3:16. He talks about the mystery of Christ being in us, the hope of esteem. Esteem can be a good theme. Christ, if you really want to have true esteem, Christ will provide that esteem as you have a relationship with him. It's a mystery how he does it. He takes over your life. He makes alive your spirit, which is dead. before you become a Christian. He gives you supernatural power. He gives you responsibilities. He prepares you for heaven. He gives you a community of people that you can enjoy. This is one of the mysteries. This I think it's in Colossians chapter 2, I believe it is. Okay, maybe verse 16. Okay, and there might be a few other mysteries there that I missed. But of course, and also the mystery of how God brings. Remember, we talked about this in chapter 3. I believe, or chapter 2, but anyway, how God brings two different groups of people together that could never get along. Never get along. It's like the Irish and everybody else up in Boston. Remember, they could never get along. It's like the warring factions of people in my city, in Washington, D.C., that could never get along. It's places I couldn't go when I was growing up because I did get beat up. Not that I would have gotten beat up, but I did get chased down the street and run for my life. And there's just peoples that just can't get along in the world. And God says, I can take the Jews and I can take anybody else. And it's absolutely impossible for them to have a kind of an agreement and have a coexistence. And he said that, but through Christ and through the relationship in the church, he says this could happen. And it does happen. And he says, so they come together with each other and with Christ. And he says, that's the biggest mystery of all, how that happens. Well, we come to chapter 6 and verse 1, and what does it say? Oh, by the way, the last verse in this chapter is the key to all marriage, all relationship, success and failure. Husbands, love your wives, sacrifice for them. Wives, respect your husbands. Love and respect. Love and respect. If you don't remember anything else about what he's talking about in marriage, from verses 23 through, or whatever it is, 22 through 33, just remember, love and respect. Love and respect. Men, just keep loving because that's the thing that women need most. And women, just keep respecting your husbands. And this is good. Most of you aren't married. This is good for the future. You're already getting your marriage counseling. It's all free, or if you want to give a donation, that's fine. Okay, but anyway, just love and respect. Love and respect. The thing that men need most is they need to be respected. They leave, they depart, they get depressed, they go and they find something else to do or whatever if they're not respected. Women deserve, after all that they go through, all that they forfeit, all that they give up, all that is going on in their lives. Women deserve to be sacrificed for. And so men, and again, if we're going to love our wives, then anything else is easy after that. It's easy after that to be kind to them. It's easy after that. If I'm going to lay down, and this loving is laying down your life. If you're willing to lay down your life for somebody, everything else is easy after that. Okay, hope we get that. Okay, now we're in chapter 6, verse 1. So we start talking about children, different category of people. Talking about one another, talking about wives, talking about husbands. Now we're talking about children. Children obey. Children obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right. Okay? So the word here is a different word. It's not hupotasso, it's not agapao. It is hupa, which is under, akuo. So they leave out the O because they don't like to put O's and A's together in Greek. They don't like that. So they just drop the O, and so it's hupakuo. And akuo is for acoustics. We get our word acoustics from that. So it's under here. So what these children are supposed to be doing, they're supposed to be under hearing. They're supposed to find out what their roles and the responsibilities are to be, even as a small child, even as a barely able to toddle child. They're supposed to learn this real early in life. And as a parent, and as a future parent, and we have some future parents here, we have some one day are going to be parents because you're married, and probably everybody's going to be a parent almost in here at some time, and then some of you are parents. And the thing is that they're not going to get this obedience. They're not going to know this automatically. Oh, look, my child. They're 4 years old and they're just automatically obedient. I never had to teach them how to be obedient. No, you have to always teach them. You don't have to teach them to be bad. Do you ever notice that? Why do they know that automatically? Why? Why do they know that automatically? Because there's a sin principle, okay? It's the nature that comes, it's the Adamic nature, and that's passed over. So when we have a child, that's passed over them. You get the eye color and hair color and some characteristics of how tall they are or how short they're going to be or whether they're going to be men or whether they're going to be women or whatever the case might be. But another characteristic is that a capacity to do wrong. And I know that was passed over to both of my children. I didn't have to teach them. Okay, now, Hey, you're doing wrong right now. When did I teach you that? They just knew it automatically. It was just there. And so you have to be active. You have to be aggressively active in helping them to see what is right. So children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right. Okay? See if there's anything else I want to share, because I know that that's such a good topic. Okay, when we talk about children in this respect, we're talking about children that are, I think I have some stuff here, right? Yeah, it's the word teknon, and the word teknon is a child of nondescript age, so it's talking about dependent children. So children are to hupakuo. This is for dependent children. This is not for non-dependent children. This is not really for any of you right here, because you've gone past that. You're not a teknon, which is a child of nondescript age in this context. It's talking about a child that's dependent. I mean, everybody here is probably dependent. Not everybody, but a lot of you are still dependent on your parents a little bit, but you're not fully dependent. I mean, you could actually get it done if you were out of the house and somewhere across the country. You know how to drive, you know how to get a job, you know how to enter into school, or do all the above at the same time. You at least can buy a bike and use that, right? Something, okay? So a dependent child, a teknon, is to obey their parent because it's the right thing to do. It's just right. They're not going to know it automatically. You have to teach them how to do what's right, okay? Have to teach them how to do what's right. Okay, now he slips right over from that into verse 2. And verse 2 is, ready? Honor your father and your mother. This is the first commandment with promise. Now, if you get this one right now, at this point in your life, it doesn't matter if you've just graduated from high school, it doesn't matter if you're just about ready to finish college, or if you just got married, or if you just start a new job, or whatever. Maybe you're in your early 20s, maybe you're in your teens, maybe you're in your late 20s, early 30s, or whatever. If you get this right now at this point in your life, you're going to keep yourself from suffering. That's always fun. When you don't suffer, you know what I mean? It's always like a good choice. God can still make something out of it, He talks about that in the 12th chapter of the book of Hebrews. He says, don't despise discipline. But, if you can avoid it, here's a way. Here's a way to avoid it. And the way to avoid it is to honor your father and your mother. The thing about my father, when I was 18 years old, I didn't think that my father knew anything. So really now, I was a Christian. I wasn't really a mature Christian. And I knew a few things, but I was really immature. I was terrible, really, if I look back. I wasn't even sure that I was a Christian. I was really insecure, but I think I was really a Christian. I didn't really do a lot of things wrong. I think my faith and the things that my dad had taught me, and I think it kept me out of a lot of problems. It kept me out of a lot. I didn't do the, hey man, it's weekend, let's get drunk. All the guys, my basketball team in high school was slated to be one of the top basketball teams in the Washington, D.C. area. 2 of the best players got kicked off because of drunkenness, and another one got kicked off because he got discouraged and let his grades slip. He was a really good ball player. He went all the way to Australia and played professional ball in Australia. And so they just devastated the team. And it took out most of the good players, 3 of the best players in our team. And it's all because they just thought that they had a better idea. At least I knew not to do that, not to be dumb like that. And, go get wasted every weekend like they did. But anyway, honor your father and your mother. So when I was 18, I didn't think my dad knew anything. This guy doesn't know anything. Oh man, this is awful, isn't it? His advice. When I was 21, I thought my dad was a PhD in life. I'm telling you, he knew everything. When I was 3 years, that's all it took. It's all it took for me to make a few interesting decisions that he didn't support. And I found myself in the middle of a war. And I found myself getting beat up and full of leeches and jungle rot and just not food and getting shot at, and just, it was all because I just thought that I knew. And when I got out of the military, the military wasn't the problem, it was me. I was the problem. When I got out, I got home and I just said, my dad is like amazing. I said, he is so brilliant. He knows stuff. He knows, you know? And so what I did is I immediately changed. Now, I did dishonor him some after that. There's some choices that I made. I wasn't finished dishonoring him. You know, you kind of go on and you do stupid for a while. But remember, the word timao, so we got another ao verb, all right? So we got hupotasso, we got agapao. It's called a contract verb. Anything ao, eo, uo, those are all called contract verbs in Greek. That's all. That's your Greek lesson for today. And then hupakuo was another. So far we got 3. Now we've got timao. So anybody here named Tim? Yes, we have Dr. Tim here this morning. And this is his name. And Jen, his name means, the timao, the first part of his name means value. You're probably hating maybe doing this right now. You know, he's gonna milk this for the rest of the day, but he is valuable, isn't he? That's why you married him. You went, that guy's valuable right there. He sure is. That's even his name. And then when you add the Timotheus part, the Timothy part, that means God. So you honor God. So or you're valued by God. So we need to value. So when we think about honor, we make this real like. Practical. We need to value our parents. If you value your parents, you're going to keep yourself safer. Okay. Now, how this is, like I said before, this is for sons and daughters that are not dependent. Sons and daughters not dependent. So this would be. Wait a minute. Is that right? Honor your father and your mother. So. Sons and daughters that are independent. Did I say that right? Not dependent. They're independent. Okay, they're not dependent. Yes. Okay, so how can we value our parents? So what ways can we value our parents? How can we value our parents? Let's talk about that for a minute. I don't really want to rush through this because if I do this right and you get this into your brains this morning, you're going to keep from really causing yourself a lot of pain. If you like pain, just shut down right now. Don't worry about it. But if you don't like pain, just really pay attention. You're gonna love this, okay? So what are some ways that we can honor our parents? What are some ways we can honor our parents? Just things that come off from the top of your head. How can we honor our parents? How can we do that? Anybody? We can. Yeah, okay. And remember, the obedience is for the dependent child. Now we're the non-dependent child. So we don't have to obey them like in everything as of the Lord, as the verse says. But I think there is still some acknowledgement. So let's use that. So instead of obeying them like we did when we were dependents, fully dependents, let's talk about acknowledging them. Okay, now it's more of an acknowledging thing. Okay, so what else? Along with that acknowledgement, what else would we need to do? How can you honor your parents? Yeah, you can support them. There's a lot of ways, Stephanie, you can support them. You support your mom. You're great. She's here right now. She's at home. She's got Hannah's cold. And she's, you guys, you and Han, first of all, marry somebody that will support you and your support for your parents, right? Or your parent, your dad, your mom. And your husband is very supportive. I mean, she's living with you guys right now. Just got here a couple of days ago, right? She missed the hurricane because the hurricane missed Puerto Rico. That was good, right? And by the way, I think it's missed us too, right? Am I right about that? Yes, isn't that great? Solomon's going, yeah, he's been checking the weather, man. I bet he had some water and filled up gas because he's really on it. He's a good husband, right? I bet you're like on it, weren't you? Anybody else on it, or you just did? I talked to a guy yesterday and he said, I don't care. Actually, what was worse is I didn't talk to him yesterday. I talked to him Friday, a guy, and he said, I don't care. And Friday, you had to care, right? Friday, we were a little bit more concerned. Yesterday, they told us it's going to go north and maybe off the coast, right? I talked to a guy yesterday. This is off the subject because I always do that. And this was on, I don't know, like 15th Street or something, way over in Old Seminole Heights, over by Hillsborough in Florida, in that area over there. And this guy was just like laying on the porch. So I said, am I going to get shot here? Am I going to get knifed? Am I going to, something's not good about this. So he's just laying there and he's kind of like, his eyes are rolled back in his head. And I said, hey, I want to invite you to Hill City. And he kind of couldn't get up. He put his head up and he said, hey, well, thanks, man. And he had a tattoo on his arm that said pirate, And so I just go, oh boy, I got the pirate going on here. And I said, but you love him, Lord. You got me talking to him. And even part of our conversation, I said, Ramon, he said, I'm half Puerto Rican and half Irish German. He said half Cuban. He's Cuban. You knew he wasn't Puerto Rican. By the way, I'm going to get off my topic. The Puerto Ricans just beat the Iranians yesterday in the World Cup basketball. How does a country of 40,000 people lose to an island state of what, 1 million? That's Puerto Ricans. Aren't you happy about that? Huh? Yeah? You're not a fan. Well, I would be. They're your countrymen. You ought to have seen the highlights of that thing. This guy, Huerta? I guess that's how you pronounce his name. Two three-pointers right within 10 seconds, and then another guy scored within 2. Wow, those games are, man, yay for the Puerto Ricans. So anyway, this guy was Cuban though, and he was fine. And he looks up, and so I'm just witnessing to him. The more I witness, he's trying to get up, and he's definitely, his eyes are open. He's paying attention to me. And I said, I want to just tell you one more time, Ramon, just before I leave. Here's how much God loves you. He came on the porch to talk to you today. Isn't that great? I mean, this guy he partied the night before, which would have been, saw him yesterday, so it would have been Friday night. He partied so hard, drugs, and he told me, he says, I deal drugs. He was on drugs. He was waiting for his drug dealer friend to let him in the drug house that I was visiting. But anyway, I like those stories because Charles Spurgeon says, just tell a story that doesn't apply and everybody will wake up. So that's why I tell this story. All right, so anyway, we're talking about how do we honor, right? How do we honor? How do we value? We must value. And if we value them, I'm just going to name some things off here, which we support them. Or marry somebody that supports us in supporting her, right? I mean, because your husband loves Rosa. He loves her. He speaks her language perfectly. How about that? They don't have any communication block, except for a few slang words, right? Ahorita, things like that. Yeah, okay. Updating their current situation status. So you always say, how you doing? Checking in. How you doing, Mom and Dad? How you doing, Mom and Dad? They could be a younger mom and dad, or they could be an older mom and dad like me. They could be a young mom and dad like Mr. Yo. They could be an older, 100-year-old mom and dad like me. Not mom, but me, like that. All right. How about defending them and intervening for them and troubleshooting for them? All right? Those are all ways that we can honor. All ways that we can honor. We need to honor. We need to honor them. We need to care about them. We need to check in with them. We need to find out how they're doing. Also, you know how we honor them? You know how we honor them? We honor them by being people of integrity. How about that? Just being a legit person. I mean, the worst thing that my dad could have ever thought about me is that Dave was disrespected women and just did drugs and alcohol. And if my dad had ever thought about me doing anything like that, it would have just killed him because he was such a great man. He was the chairman of the Deacon Board, First Baptist Church of Washington, D.C., or whatever the name of the church was there in D.C. Can't remember, something Heights. Washington Heights, I think. Well, yeah, East Washington Heights Baptist Church. He was the chairman of the Deacon Board. If I had ever done anything and he had heard about it, it would have just killed him because he prayed so much, he cared so much. My kids grew up in Southern California. That is really a very, very difficult place to bring up children. The culture there is just nuts. It's just crazy. Everybody's narcissistic. They're all selfish. It's just terrible. And I can honestly say that Aaron waited until he was married. And I can honestly say that Amy waited until, I am totally convinced that those guys waited until they were married. They did not shame us. They were just amazing, weren't they, Shirley? And they were normal. I mean, like I said, Erin went all the way and played college basketball. Amy actually played college basketball. And while her friends at college were going down to Mexico partying on the weekend, she would either come home or figure out somebody else's, maybe one of the, because she was only like, she was in San Diego and we were Riverside County. So she would like either go home with one of her friends or that lived close to the campus, or she would come home. And that's Erin. He was always like, he'd come home and work, mow lawns or something while he was in college, and then we had his games. But he never shamed us. He never shamed us. He never dishonored us. And Amy never dishonored. Not one time when they were in school. Not one time. They never got up in our faces and told us that we were, doing wrong or chewing us out, or anything. They weren't disrespectful. They got good grades. That's how you can honor. You can get good grades. You can make good choices. You can do God's work. You can not say that you're a Christian and act like a pagan. That's like one of the worst ways that you can dishonor your parents. Say you're a Christian and act like a pagan. I can honestly say that Amy and Erin said that they're Christians, and they looked like it, didn't they, Shirley? It's not anything that we did special. You know what I think the most important strategy and technique for a parent to see their kids become honorable kids and to see them not to dishonor them and to make the right choices. I think more than even all the talking is the prayer. I think the prayer, and that's the one thing. I know parents that try to control their children, and like they kind of keep them in a little bubble and try to control them and protect them, and that doesn't really work. Sometimes they still go crazy, but it's just that prayer. You give that instruction, but it's that prayer every day. So if I said one prayer for my son, so by the time he was 20, I said one prayer per day for my son. So that's 365 times 20. What is that, you mathematicians? 365 times 20. So that's 3,000. That's over 30,000 prayers. So that by the time that Erin was 20 years old, I had said over, what did I say? 30,000 prayers. Am I off on that? Is my math wrong? Go ahead. I'm listening. What's the math? So we got 365 times 20. All right, 7,000. No. That's it, guys. You guys just got an F in math this morning. Oh my gosh. No, I'm going to figure this out now because I'm usually good at doing something else. Okay, help me out now. 365. How many? Okay, so by the time he was 20, I had said over 7,000 prayers for him. Even if I just said, God, help him to make the right choices for you today. If the prayer was just that simple. 7,000 of those by the time he was 20 years old. And that's what God blessed. But I said way more prayers for that. I was praying all during the day. I probably said 50,000 prayers for him by the time he was 20. 50,000 prayers. Imagine saying, those. So for you parents that want to see your kids become honorable, 50,000 prayers. Just do it. Just say it. Just pray for them during the day. Just even right now for my grandkids. I pray for Drew and I pray for Micah. They're the two oldest ones, and I'm even praying for the one that's going to be born at the beginning of December. Lord, help her to make a decision. I don't even know what her name. Do they know what they're going to name her yet? But they found it's going to be a girl. So help her to accept you early, and this is what I pray every day for her. She's not even born yet. Help her to pray. Help her to make a decision for you early in her life. Help her with her future ministry. Help her with her future schooling, making a decision for school, her career, and just all out, just living for you, just living a life for you, God. And I just pray those prayers every day, and God answers those prayers. Those are just instruction is important, but just saying those prayers every day. I prayed for Amy and Erin before they were born, about them being successful followers of Jesus. That's what I pray. And God answers your prayers, man. And so, but really, if you're going to value, just, just be legit, just be authentic. Don't say you're a Christian and live like a pagan. No, that does not honor them. My kids did not do that. Thank God for that. Okay? Any questions about that? But remember the verse. This is the first commandment with promise. Is it the first commandment? What's the first commandment? What is the first of the 10 commandments? Go. What's the second one? Yeah, no graven images, right? Third one? No, the third one's about God as well. So the first three, yeah, don't put it any, yeah, there you go. That's good. And then the fourth is that remember the Sabbath or okay, but and then the fifth commandment is this: honor your father and your mother, which is the first commandment with promise. Now let's look at those promises. It's not the first commandment. We're just about done here this morning. Next week we're going to talk about spiritual warfare. Spiritual warfare next week can be good. Okay, so this is the first commandment with promise. Not the first of the 10 commandments. It's actually number 5, okay? But it is the first with promise. Actually, 2, and they're found, the 10 commandments are found in Exodus chapter 20 and Deuteronomy chapter 5. So this commandment is found in Exodus chapter 20, verse 12, and Deuteronomy chapter 5, verse 16. And this is it. First part with promise. So if you honor your father and mother, now if you get this right, you're going to keep yourself from pain, I'm telling you. And I invited a lot of pain into my life because I did not observe what God is instructing here. And I know of some other children that are grown now that have invited a lot of pain into their lives, unnecessary pain that shouldn't be there, and they're really good people, but they invited this because they didn't pay attention to God. They didn't pay attention to his word, what Paul is telling us here, what Moses was telling us back there in Exodus and Deuteronomy. First one, that things may go well with you. So if we honor our moms and our dads, don't have to obey them, that's cool. But we do have to timao. We do have to value them. And if we're going to do that, then things are going to go well. What's the opposite of things going well with us? Go ahead. Anybody just say it. Things going bad. Is that pretty clear? So, I mean, it's obvious, right, Shirley? So if you choose not this, then you get the opposite, things going on. And that you may live long in the land. Now, for the Jews living long in the land that God had given to them, as the verse says in, I think it's Deuteronomy, living long in the land that God had given to them. He's talking about the Jews, and I will leave you long in the land. But right now, that doesn't really apply to us because we're not Jews and we're not living in the land of Israel. We're Gentiles. By the way, he wrote this to Gentiles, but he included this. The 2 promises. He could have just said the first one. But he included the second one, which was in both of those passages. Okay, one of them isn't, but one of them is in both. This one is in both, I believe. So I'm wondering if he just wanted it to say that you may live long. I'm wondering if he's just cutting it short there because we're Gentiles and we're not Jews and we're not living in the land of Israel. And he's not going to take away our privilege of living in the land of Israel. He's just saying that you're not going to live long. I'm just wondering. So that things may go well with you and so that you'll live long. Okay, so you'll live long. All right? Wow. That's what we all want. We want things to go well with us. So what do we want as a young adult? We want to have some quality friends. We want to get in the school that we want to get into. We want to get good grades. If we want to get to master's or get a doctorate or a PhD or a medical doctor or whatever. We want to stay healthy. We want to be able to get into the career. Remember, God's saying, I'm the God that opens doors that no one can open. And I'm the God that closes doors that no one. I'm the God that opens doors that no one can close. And I'm the God that can open doors, that closes doors that no one can open. I'm the God that has the keys of death and of Hades. That's what we're studying right now on Wednesday nights. Jesus said, I'm the God that has the keys. I'm holding the keys. I hold the keys. That's what Jesus says. I hold the keys. And he says here, he says that all those things that we want in our life, all those things that we think about in the future, the right person to marry, that our kids would be. So when you have children, it's so my son got word this week that they did a little test, and it seemed like that the little baby inside of Ashley kind of had a little, what was it, like a heart thing, Shirley? Some kind of heart compromise there. And so, oh boy, my son's he's already lost one child with sudden infant death. And the little child was 6 weeks old. I was holding the little child the night before when it passed away that morning. And so, the warning that I give all the moms is just be careful that they don't put the little babies on their tummies when they're sleeping. Just make sure that they roll them over and kind of prop them up there, Because, something as simple as that, I'm not saying that's what happened, but anyway, we have doctors here. They can tell us more about it. Sorry, I'm taking your place right now. But anyway, I just don't want you to go through the pain that we did. So Aaron's already, so he hears about the little baby, and it seems like it's got a, and then they went ahead and did some kind of test. I don't know, what test would they have done, the next step test to see about the heart. What would they have done? Was that ultrasound? Got it. Our two docs here. Okay, so ultrasound, and it came out fine. How about that? Isn't that great? Like the same day, it came out fine. So he was rejoicing, and we're all rejoicing. We're all excited. But God can allow us to invite things into our circumstances that He would never have wanted to be there, just to help, to channel us and to change us and to guide us and to move us in the right direction. He wants us to be sensitive to Him. His kingdom is at stake. People's lives for eternity are at stake, depending on the kind of decisions that we make now. And so if we're not honoring those parents, God can make alterations, really, really slight alterations in our world that can really, really cause great hardship and great pain. So just be real sensitive to God. Don't be fearful, but it's respectful fearful. It's not like, crazy fearful, like God's an ogre, because He's not. He's loving, He's just, He's beautiful, He's giving, He wants to. He's committed to us. It's like I told that guy on the porch. God loves you so much that He came and visited you today in the state that you're in right now. You can't even that guy couldn't even get up. He was laying on the porch, and he kept trying to show respect and get up, and he'd fall back down again. I don't think he ever did got it. And then the next time I walked by, I went around the block and visited some homes and came back, and he'd finally gotten up, and he was lighting a cigarette and still waiting for the other drug dealer to make it there. And, hey, how you doing, Ramon? You okay? Fine, So, got it? Everybody got it? Let this burn into your soul right now. Let it burn into your life right now. Let it burn. I'm not going to be the person where things don't go well because I'm not going to honor my father. I'm going to make sure that I live long, or live long in the land, or live long, whatever God means by this. I'm going to be living long because I'm not going to violate this principle of dishonoring my God and dishonoring my parents. I love this. And just think, just by reading this morning and respecting it and observing it, look at all the things that we'll miss, all the pain that we'll miss. If you just get this into your mind. Isn't this great? It's such a simple thing. It's not like, you got to go pay somebody $50,000. He's not asking you to do that. He's just saying, hey, if you would just observe this. It's just as simple as that. It's just information to absorb and to respond to throughout your life. All right? I love it, don't you? God doesn't make this terribly difficult for us. We have the Holy Spirit that gives us the power to respond. We don't have to do it in our own human energy. We can't do it in our own human energy. We can only do it through the Spirit of God. Remember, these are people that are like this, that honor, that are controlled by the Spirit of God. They're Spirit-filled, all right? Because they're making the right choices for God. All right. Next week we'll talk about others. That would be fun too. That would be great. Let's pray. Lord, thanks this morning I just wanted to take some time with this because I've really gone through a lot of difficulty because I wasn't paying attention, or I just wasn't believing you enough about things to follow the instructions. I just don't want my brothers and sisters and my friends here this morning to have to go through some of the pain that I went through, or some of the pain that's promised, because we're not paying attention, Lord. We're not paying attention. And so I just pray that as I just took a few minutes and just sat on this a little bit this morning, just spent some time, that everybody will get it and they'll remember it. You will just infuse this within their brains, Lord, within all of our thinking, and so that we will be responders, and the consequences will be your blessings, Lord. If we just respond to these couple of simple principles, Lord, the blessings can be so marvelous, can be so amazing, so evident in our lives. I pray that will happen, Lord. And we'll thank you in Jesus' name. Amen.
If they